Welcome to Mumbition, the podcast for business owning women by Mums & Co, where we share inspiring stories of Australian mums in business. I'm Kerry Kwan, the co-founder of Mums & Co, and I will be joined each week by our community manager, Lucy Kippist. Together, we'll discuss how our guests harmonise their ambition, livelihood and well-being. Let's get into the inspiring stories now. In the spirit of reconciliation, Mums & Co acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. As business owners, livelihood comes pretty close to the top of our priority list. While we must run a business that we feel passionate about, equally it needs to make us money. This reality rings even more true when, as the business owner and mum, you're also the sole provider and primary caregiver to your children. This is exactly the position that today's guest, Julia Hasche, found herself in 5 years ago when she left both the toxic relationship and a corporate career in the mining industry to start her own business whilst being a single mother to her very young daughter. Julia's experience reflects that of approximately 7% of business-owning mothers across Australia who are setting off on their own in business and life as single parents.
That 7% is a really important statistic. Julia, welcome to the Mumbition podcast.
Thank you. That was very nice. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Julia, now our first question to any business owning mum is, what do you do? We love hearing the pitch, and we believe that every woman running a business should embrace every opportunity that they have to make introductions and connect with customers. So please share your elevator pitch with us.
I help single mothers navigate and adjust to the reality of raising kids alone and to overcome and grow through all of those associated struggles by providing strategies, tools, and most of all community so that they are supported as they learn to thrive and feel empowered and live their best life. And the way I do that is through my mentoring programs for single mums. I do that through my blog, my weekly podcast that you mentioned, which is called Single Mother Survival Guide, and also through my online membership experience for single mothers, which is called Thrive Tribe. So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell. And I also have another little business called #Media, which is primarily doing social media management for mining and mining related businesses, and also podcast editing and running podcasting workshops for anyone who's interested in starting a podcast.
Wow. It's so many things running through my head at the moment, outside of the fact that days must be fairly full.
Yeah.
And certainly that, just how entrepreneurial our business owner mums are. And, I think about a third of us actually have run a business before or have another business. So I love that you've mentioned both. And I'd also love to know what do you currently love about your business right now?
What I love is the podcast that I mentioned just turned 5 this week that we're recording. And it's something that I'm really, really proud of because we've got a really beautiful community. The listeners are just gorgeous women who write to me, and I know that it makes such a difference to them. We have incredible guest experts that come on and give advice and tips and everything for single mums. And then there's the single mums that come on and share their stories to help other women. I don't know if I can share this, but Lucy's been one of those. And it's just incredible because I think I'm all about the sisterhood. I'm all about women supporting women. And I just think such great things can happen when we come together. Like, I think there can be this real kind of competitiveness, and I'm about women coming together and supporting one another and sharing stories, and I think that's really powerful. And then I'm also really proud of Thrive Tribe. That's what I love at the moment. It's my favourite place on the internet. We have a beautiful community of women who are action takers. They all want to live their best life, and it's just a beautiful community and sacred group. So that's what I love most.
And so much to love about that there. Happy 5th.
Thank you.
That's a huge milestone, and we are absolutely celebrating it, and absolutely celebrating that you are, very much on the same ethos as Mums & Co in terms of you're lifting all women, and, a rising tide lifts all of us. So thank you for that amazing work that you have tirelessly committed yourself to over the last 5 years in sharing those conversations.
Thank you. I've loved every minute of it.
There is definitely lots of shared purpose among our communities, that's for sure. And as Carrie mentioned in the intro, we love asking our community to practice their business pitch, but we also love making introductions, something I'm sure also you understand and see the value of in your business. So if there was anything right now that you could ask for in your business or your life, what would it be?
A clone. Clone right now would be great with, everything we're trying to do in lockdown. No, I actually had to think about this question, and I think I'm all about bringing more joy back into our life, and something that I've been wanting to do for ages, and I haven't done it since I was pregnant, was play the guitar. And I don't even remember how to play anymore, so I'd love a guitar teacher. If there's any guitar teachers out there, yeah, hook me up. We'll organise some Zoom classes.
Yeah. Oh, that would be, you can imagine that would be quite simple to learn on Zoom. I'm sure there's someone out there. I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's probably another string to add to your bow then, which is considerable. You're running your community, you're hosting your podcast, you're facilitating mentoring sessions, blah, 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 all those things, and blogging and raising your daughter. So what is it that you've had to stop doing to ensure that you can make all of those other aspects work?
It's funny because I think there's a lot of talk about balance, and I am all about balance, but I also think balance is prioritizing things that are important to you in this very moment. So, if you're running a business if you're in the middle of a launch, then maybe that's not trying to do all the other things. I kind of try to focus on the key things that are really essential to me, and all the other stuff doesn't matter. So the key things for me are like daily exercise, just even if it's 20 minutes for me, I need that. It's meditation. And it's scheduling that in and sticking it in my timetable. And it's not worrying about things that in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter, like housework, like I really don't do that much of it. Like, I clean my house when it needs to be done. I'm not like, oh my gosh, I need to do this every day. I'm not about that. And I'm also about outsourcing. So, whether that's in your personal life or in your business, for me, I've had a VA now for quite a few months, and that's been really good. And it's enabled me to let go of tasks that I don't need to focus on, and then I can focus on other things in my life that I want to do.
I like that sense. When you were talking about outsourcing as well, and sometimes that outsourcing doesn't need to have a monetary value to it. I feel like technology has helped me outsource. So tools that actually help me do the work that I need to do, or set up, some time saving.
Yes.
Or it's actually the courage to ask.
Yeah.
Outsourcing, right? That might be to anybody, to please look after my child for a couple of hours, or, just kind of having that courage to ask is a form of outsourcing.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, have you found in this journey of motherhood and running a business, have you found any sort of key transferable skills? Do you think that these skills changed when perhaps you became a single mum?
I think when you're a mum, maybe not everyone, but for me, I was like, I thought I was organised, but I'm going to have to get a bit more organised. I'm a big planner coming from an engineering background. I'm all about planning. I'm all about schedules. I love that stuff. So I think for me, and budgeting as well, I should say, like mothering, you kind of, and as a single mum, all those skills have really had to be kind of enhanced, because you've got to really look after your time better. You've got to plan out when you're doing what. You've got to look at your budget. And I think, if anything, being a single mum has only made me better at those skills.
Absolutely. The budgeting, gosh, that's across, allocation, right? You've only got a finite amount of resources, energy, and, so that the way of looking at that is a really interesting and a great skill to share.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about you this week, Julia, because I found an article on your blog about how to homeschool as a single mum, and just your tips were so good because I've been looking for a bit of structure. And yeah, you can tell that even in, the way that you've had to think about processes, it was very clear to me that, it's all about that scheduling.
And it might change, like I think that blog post that you're referring to, I think I wrote that last year. And this time I'm doing it differently. And it's just what works for you in that time.
Like the Single Mum Survival Guide, Mums & Co is the first and foremost a community. It's a movement, and we love celebrating the support of our co. Our co is the network of partners, friends, family, clients, local baristas, anyone in our village that can support us and our ambitions. Can you tell us a little bit about your co and how they support you?
Yes, I love that whole thing about a village. I think we really need that. The number one person in my village is my daughter. It's been her and I since she was 2 months old. She sees her dad, but, she lives with me, and I'm very open with her. We have a very friendly relationship, maybe more so than other mums, because, it's just been the two of us always. So it's kind of a different dynamic, but she's definitely my, teammate, and she's the reason for everything that I do. I have a partner now. He's amazing. He's my best friend. He is such a big supporter of mine, a great sounding board, and he also helps me get things done. It's really a foreign concept for me because I haven't lived with anyone since my daughter's father, which was 8 years ago. And now suddenly someone comes in when I'm working and, should I get started on dinner? And I'm like, yes, what? That'd be amazing. It's just such a good feeling. So it's great to have him around. Obviously, that's not the only reason why I love him. My Thrive Tribe group that I mentioned, best group of women ever, and I really talk them through a lot of my ideas and plans, and I just really feel their love and support every day. And then I think my friends, I actually feel really lucky and grateful. I've just got the best group of friends. Most of my close friends I've known since I was 5, very beginning of school. They're still my closest friends today. And I talk through a lot of ideas that I have and things that I'm thinking about, and vice versa. And they're big supporters, and it's just, really nice to have them in my life.
Amazing. And that's, there's such a smattering of people there that can inspire you in a personal aspect or in a professional aspect, but it seems like, they're very, very respectful of your blending of both. So thank you for sharing a little bit about your co.
No worries.
Julia, obviously your business is devoted to helping and supporting and mentoring other single mothers, and we know that approximately 7% of small businesses in Australia are actually owned and started and operated by single mums. What do you think your experience of life as a single mum has brought to your business, both the pros and the cons of that?
I think the pros have been overcoming mindset blocks. That's been a big one. Another pro has been great planning. I mentioned that before. And one of the biggest ones would probably be determination. I think as a single mum in going into business, there's no one else to really support. There's no second income, if you like. So I think being a single mum has brought me a lot of determination, I think, in business, and a lot of motivation, because it's kind of like, it's going to work or it's not. There's no other person there to hold you up. So yeah,
absolutely. And I think I'd also read somewhere that starting a business, changing your career in any capacity when you're a single mum as well is really, really common, because it's almost like you've got that mentality well, I'm doing everything else. I might as well. There is that ingenuity that comes from that life experience, I think.
I think it's also looking at this new situation that you're in as an opportunity. And a lot of the time when we're in relationships, we can become a bit stuck in just the way we live our life. You know, it's not a bad thing. It's just what we're used to and it's just what we've been doing. But it's kind of like a reset when you become a single mum and you're just like, what next? You know, like, what am I going to do now? And it just kind of makes you to rethink everything. It's such a good opportunity to just get back to being you. I think in relationships, we often lose ourselves. And when you're a single mum, you come out, you're like, oh no, you know, and then you're in this situation. And it's kind of like when you overcome all that grief, you're kind of like, okay, well, what can I do with this now? What is it that I want to do? Do I want to travel? Like a lot of the time you don't have to have that other person to think about. You don't have to compromise as much. So it's quite empowering actually.
I love that you're saying that it's actually an opportunity for you to really dig deep and see, what do you want? And I think we forget to ask ourselves that question or give the space for that. You know, when you reset, like you said, that's when you kind of get really clear on that again, or invite a chance for that again.
I've heard you speak about the putting that opportunity lens on this life experience before, Julia, and it's so powerful. And if you can run with that, it's hard to run with that, but if you can.
So you've been running Single Mum Survival Guide for many years now, and often sharing lots about your personal life on Instagram. What is something about Julia that we might not see on social media?
Do you know, I think I actually probably share more on my podcast, I'd say, because it's kind of always been like my diary. Like, it's kind of like, it started as a bit of an audio blog, but / diary, you know. But anyway, I think there's not a lot that I keep quiet, to be honest. I'm a pretty open book and I'm always like that, like not just on social media. I'm always like that in my normal life. Like I'm like that with people that I'm close to and I'm like that with complete strangers as well. I think they're like, oh, thanks for sharing that. I think when you're open though, it encourages other people to open up and it helps women feel less alone, you know. And I always think it's really interesting when you look at people communicate and you'll notice this if you're looking out for it. If you find a woman that shares something really personal, generally someone will respond with also sharing something personal, which I think is really nice. You know, it's just a way to connect and we really need that. But if anything, I have quite a silly side, which I don't really share that much on social media, and to the extent where if I do something silly or something that I find funny, people take me seriously and they're like, and I'm like, no, it's a joke. Like, so I think I'm probably not very, I'm not very humorous probably on social media. And there's also things I don't share, like, you know, I don't share my daughter's name. I don't share my ex's name. I don't share like personal things that are going on in anyone else's life. I don't share my ex's situation with his ex-wife and their kids, you know, like it's more about things that my experiences.
Yeah. And that's, you know, having those boundaries and those parameters set up are so important.
Yeah.
You know, we put a lot out. I think, you know, you're in such an advocacy role too. You know, you're helping your community through it. So you already are actually revealing a big part of your life. So I think we have to have those areas where we, you know, happy not to go as well. Let alone all the privacy. Private is private. So
yeah.
As parents, as you know, mums, we're always got this safety radar on. How have your life experiences shaped your relationship to, say, business risk? You know, are there any sort of processes or measures that you put in place to protect yourself against risk?
It's funny because before I had my daughter, as you mentioned at the beginning, I was working as a full-time mining engineer. And when I went back into the workforce after she was 17 months old when I went back to work, and I got a job as a risk engineer. So I'm always like I'm a risk, I think from a risk perspective, and even in the mining industry, it's obviously a very risky industry. So that like everything is about safety and, you know, what would you do if this happens? And so I think I'm a bit like that too. I think like it's a bit like an unofficial risk assessment that I probably do in my head. I don't write anything down, but I do think a lot about things. I think, okay, if I do this, this could happen. What would I do? Like I just try and map things out. But I do think of things I'm optimistic, but I'm a realist as well, so like, even though I think you've got to be brave in business, you've got to go for it, I'm kind of like, okay, like when I first started, I was like, it's maybe a bit risky to put myself out there and just stop doing anything else and just have this business, because I have a daughter to support, I have rent to pay, I have to buy food, so it's having that, what do you call it? Like having a part-time job maybe, or a casual job, and also starting your business, and kind of like having this overlap, I think is important. But also I think going through life, everyone goes through some challenges and tough times. And what those tough times that I've been through have taught me is that life is really short. You've got to, at the end of the day, I think you've got to do what you love. We spend so much time working, and I mean, the people in your community, they're obviously all driven women as well, and a lot of them all of them have or want, their own businesses, or they want something more that they're working on for themselves. And I think that's fantastic. I think we all need our little projects. We need something, we need, things that bring joy into our lives that we're passionate about. I think it's a great message for our kids too, because, kids just sort of grow up. What are you going to be when you grow up? You're going to do this. Like, it's not about, the question isn't asked like, what would make you really happy if you could do this as a job when you grow up? It's more like an expectation, if that makes sense. So I want to teach my daughter, like, I'm doing what I love. You should do what you love as well. Life is just too short.
Absolutely. What I think a lot of, whilst it's challenging, like half of our movement will say, yeah, this is challenging running a business, but yet they see that they're setting a great example, that they're pursuing their what makes them happy and what brings them a sense of satisfaction and part of their identity. So but definitely from setting a good example for their children, and that's important, that both the young boys in my case and the young girls, they both have to see that.
Yeah.
Great perspective on the risk side of things. And it's not that we don't, I think that's very prudent. We have to balance out, the being okay with not knowing everything and stepping into the unknown, with that sense of, okay, I should actually think about a few things and think about the plan and how to transition myself over, or, I think that's really important.
And finding things out, because if you don't know something, that creates fear, and fear holds us back, and we don't want to make decisions based on fear. So the more knowledge we have, the better equipped we are as well to handle these things that come up.
I was just thinking as I was listening to both of you speak, that, and the other part of all of this is that I think it's a bit of a misnomer that just because something is easier, that it's going to make you happier. Just because something has less risk or is, less demanding of all your resources, it's not necessarily going to make you any happier. So why not just dive in? Why not just dive in?
Exactly.
Yeah. What is it that helps ground you every day? What's something in your well-being routine that's a must-have?
For me, it's starting my day with a morning ritual. I start at 5. Like, life right now is really busy, so I'm pretty much at my desk or like on. I take breaks and stuff to exercise, but I'm on from 5 till 5 at night. So I start at 5 because it just gives me half an hour in the morning before my daughter gets up, my partner's asleep. It's nice. I get up, I make a coffee, I meditate, I journal. That's a really important part of my day, and it just sets me up in the right way. You mentioned walking and exercise, like every day. For me, it's more of a mental health activity than anything else. Staying connected. So especially now in lockdown, it's making time for Zooms with my friends or talking to my family. It really helps me. And every day I try to read, and I always finish my day with gratitude as well. And it's funny because I was talking to one of my friends the other day, actually really bad. She just got COVID, and she was saying how like something that's really helping her is practicing gratitude. And I was like, I'm really glad, like, because I harp on a lot about gratitude. And she's like, honestly, if you told me 2 years ago to do this, I would have kicked you. You know, she's like, some people like, yeah, you're like, okay, I don't want to do this. Yeah, all right. But like, I think for me, gratitude is more about, it's the way you look at life, and it's the longer term impacts that practicing gratitude has that we don't realize. It's not just about sitting down and taking a few minutes out of your day to think about what you're grateful for in that day, but it actually really helps to flip your mindset. So you're looking for the good things in your day, and doing these little things in my day, like practicing gratitude and having my morning ritual and meditating, it just keeps me happy. It keeps me happy. It keeps me healthy in my mind. And as someone who has experienced depression and anxiety in their 20s really badly, like I was hospitalized for 6 weeks, for me, mental health is number one. And so every day I make sure I do things that protect my mental health.
There's an incredible, I think, sense of perspective that you have in that process. And you're always looking for the things that count because you're focused on the right things for you.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that perspective, that beautiful perspective. Now, at Mums & Co, we talk about harmony as this triangle of ambition, livelihood, and well-being. Could you describe the shape of a good life for you?
Mine's probably either a circle or like maybe a pie or a cake. I don't know why I said pie. I don't eat pie. Maybe a cake with like 8 slices, or an octagon. Because I look at like, I've got like 8 areas that I like to focus on in my life. You're both laughing at me.
I was just legitimately thinking, who doesn't like pie? It was a genuine question.
When I think of pie, I think of meat pies, and I don't eat meat. So I'm like, when's the last time I ate a pie? Anyway. So when I look at like the 8 areas, and this is what I encourage the ladies in Thrive Tribe to, these are the areas that we're building up. It's your physical. So that's, you know, your exercise, looking after your physical self, drinking water, sleep, all that stuff. It's your spirituality or your religion, whatever it is that you believe, but something that, and meditation is in that, you know, practicing gratitude, just being like connected. Finances, being on top of your finances, hugely important. Your emotional well-being. What am I up to? 1, 2, 3, 4. Relationships. So that's relationships for a single parent. That's one of the most important relationships, is the relationship that you have with your ex-partner, you know, because they're just such a daily or weekly or monthly influence in your life. So it's really important to try and keep that healthy. And the relationships, obviously, with your family and your friends and your children. And then there's the self part, which is like your self-care, you know. Then there's the parenting, and then there's the practical things in your life. And so there's 8. So I'm going with octagon or cake or pie cut into 8, whatever you want to go with.
That's a great shape. And sounds pretty tasty in your world.
I think that's the first time someone said that shape.
Okay, so for all of our single mothers that are listening to this episode, and I know that there will be many, and also considering starting a business, what is the most important tip that you'd like to share with them?
I think starting a business as a single mum is definitely, there's more to think about than if you're not a single mum. I think you're already a one-woman show. You're trying to do everything in your life anyway, and throwing in a new business on top of that, and, you know, potentially keeping your other job and whatever. It's a lot to manage. It's scary and it's incredibly overwhelming. So I would say one of the biggest tips is mastering your mindset, because we really are our best worst enemies. Our worst, what is it? Our best worst enemies. We you know, we like to really, that inner critic comes out and tells us we can't do it, or, you know, why would you consider doing this? And I think you've got to overcome that. I think also as well, it's really important to be super passionate about what you want to do, because what I get a lot is people coming to me that want to start a similar business, or they're single mums and they go, you know, same question. I want to start, like, what do you think? I think from the outside it looks great, but no one sees all the work that is going on in the background, you know. And I spent years where I got very little sleep. I compromised other areas of my life, like, spending quality time with my child. I compromised looking for and putting effort into personal relationships. And that's fine. Like at the time, I had to put this energy and that time into growing my business. But I just think it's got to be something that you love, because if you don't love it and you don't want to keep doing it in 5 years, then it's something to think about, because you are going to lose this time with other people and it is going to impact other areas of your life. And then I'd say planning.
Julia, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Now, you're obviously a very passionate supporter of women. So what we like to ask at this time, towards the end of the podcast, is, in the spirit of women supporting women, who are the Mumbitious, so the ambitious women, mums that you know running businesses that you would like to shout out to?
I'd shout out to one of my friends, Taria Pitt. So she, obviously most people have heard of her, but if you are wanting to run, she has a course on getting mums to run. And I think she's amazing. She's an amazing role model. She's an amazing teacher. She's an amazing coach. So if you want to run, she made me run, and I hate running. Like, I hate it. And now I run sometimes. I don't even know who I am. So check her out for sure. There's another one that I really wanted to mention, because I chatted with her the other day, and she was one of the guests in my Thrive Tribe community. She was a guest expert, and her name is Kasha. And I'm just looking for her Instagram, but it's like Pivot to Happiness, I'm pretty sure. She is incredible. So you definitely want to check her out, because she works a lot with people who are really trying to transform their thinking, and that's something that I'm really passionate about myself. I also love Canna Campbell. I don't know if you guys know of her. She's all about budgeting and finances. She has the $1,000 project, which is amazing. I've learned a lot from her, and she's also a past single mum. I'm a massive supporter of past, present single mums. So she's remarried, but she has other kids anyway. But yeah, if you're interested in like investing money or like saving money, check out Canna Campbell.
Thank you, Julia. They are awesome tips. And yeah, we know Turia well here at Mums & Co. She spoke at our conference earlier this year. And if anyone wants to check that out, they can see that on our digital library as well. She's phenomenal, as you say. Julia, thank you so much for joining us today. It's just been wonderful to hear your insights as a single mum and as a business owner. We hope you've enjoyed today's podcast, and if you'd like to follow Julia, you can find her at Single Mother Survival Guide on Instagram. And if you haven't already, please come and join our ambitious, supportive movement of thousands of Australian business-owning mums just like you at mumsandco.com.au.
Thank you so much for having me.
What's your favourite game to play with your daughter?
We play lots of games, actually. We like playing board games. We like playing Quirkle and Uno. But at the moment, what we love to do is, I don't know if you've seen the show Survivor, but my daughter loves it, so do I. And she likes to set up little like elimination and like reward challenges in our living room. And we do that. It's really fun.
Sounds like fun.
It is fun. What's your favourite game?
Minecraft.
Ooh. Yeah, my daughter loves that too, and Roblox.
I have Roblox on my iPad, I think.
Do you like Roblox? Yeah, everyone's going crazy about it.
Remy, you've been the best podcast co-host.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Mumbition by Mums & Co. Head over to the show notes for a full transcript of the interview and any links we have referred to. Mums & Co is Australia's most caring business network for women. Join us today for just $30 at mumsandco.com.au. This podcast was produced and edited by Morgan Sebastian Brown of Brown Tree Productions and hosted by Kerry Kwan, co-founder of Mums & Co, and community manager Lucy Kippist. We love hearing your feedback, so if you haven't already, please share, rate and review this podcast, and we can reach more business owning mothers just like you.